I think it's really good to learn from a mentor. So getting around those kind of people that you can really grow and learn from, I think is really important.
Hey there, business enthusiasts. Welcome to the Chills Podcast, brought to you by Allweather Roof. Because just like a sturdy roof, our conversations are built to last. I'm your host, Brent Loberg, and we're about to dive into the world of business, family, and the moments that give us those exhilarating chills. Ever wonder what keeps successful people inspired? Well, get ready to find out as we chat with some fantastic all-weather customers, partners, vendors, and friends. We'll explore their triumphs, challenges, and maybe even some unexpected secrets. After all, business is not just about numbers. It's about the people behind them. So grab your metaphorical popcorn and join us on this journey. Get ready to be inspired, maybe even get a few chills of your own. This is the Chills Podcast. Let the goosebumps begin.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Liz Sibet. I've been a realtor for 16 years. I've flipped about 200-something houses. I lost count. I run a few real estate-related companies, so we help people with cleaning. We do maintenance work for a lot of management companies and some other kinds of work that we do.
Okay. I looked you up on LinkedIn. I saw you're friends with Daniel DeRocher. So he sold my wife and I our second home down in Egan.
Oh, cool.
Do you work with them or?
Yes, yep.
Yeah,
great
Julie.
people, Julie and Dan. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So is that kind of, because that EXP, I see that's on their name now.
Yeah.
So what's that entity in the real estate world?
So I had been with Keller Williams for 15 years, and then I've been at EXP for about a year and a half. So it's just one of the big real estate names. It's one of the fastest growing real estate companies. So it's a great place for people who are individuals like me or teams like they run. So you had a really good agent working for you. That's
Really
great.
good. I recommend them all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're great. So right now you're from Andover. Is that where you grew up?
No, grew up in Brooklyn Park.
Okay.
And then just living in Andover temporarily in one of the luxury flips that I'm doing, but it's selling in a couple weeks.
Okay. Do you get down and do the dirty work?
Not so much. I used to many years ago as a landlord. I became a landlord first when I was 20 years old and then again at 21. So I was doing a lot of the work myself back then.
Okay.
But nowadays I do some of sorting. We do hoarder houses. So sometimes I'm sorting some of those items, what's going to get kept or donated. But I don't do a lot of work on site at the houses.
Okay. So you do the hoard stuff. So you donate stuff, and then what do you do with the stuff you keep?
Sell it typically, and then I'm planning to open an antique store because we have
Really?
so many items. Yes.
Really? So are you into antiques?
I am a little bit, yeah.
A little bit? So I grew up in Duluth, and my dad was an auctioneer, and his specialty was antiques. So I kind of know, but I've been out of it for so long.
Yeah, so fun. It's just a fun part of history, and doing hoarder houses probably isn't the best for somebody like me that likes to keep items and sometimes decorate with some of the fun antiques in my own home. But yeah, it's pretty fun.
Cool. So do you take some of the stuff from the hoarder house that you're flipping and use it back within the house when you're trying to sell it?
Yeah, sometimes people leave really nice hutches, really nice furniture. I mean, I've got an open trailer that we use for the houses. That was at a house. We bought a house that was owned by a contractor previously, so there were about a dozen ladders, a whole bunch of things like that. I got a really cool 1968 Ford LTD car that came with the house.
Really?
So there's been a lot of fun things that we've found, a lot of really old things from World War I and World War II, some really fun finds.
So when you find these houses, so if it's a hoarder house, do you bid on the house and then you get everything that comes inside of it and the garage?
Yeah, and I'm just kind of known as somebody that specializes in the hoarder houses. Okay. And a lot of realtors and flipper investor people have us clean out their hoarder houses also, so we can keep prices down by the items that we do donate or keep and sell.
Okay. So my wife and I and the kids have watched some of the hoarder shows, of course. Are they hard to come by? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that do this, or is there?
There's a lot of hoarder houses.
Okay.
A lot more than people think. And then maybe since I get sent them so often, I feel like there's so many. But yeah, there's pretty extreme ones. And a lot of times we buy a house. And I think in the last few years, there's probably been at least 10 times when a house was in a family for 40 to 100 plus years.
Okay.
So then we find some items even from early 1900s, like really old items. So that's interesting too. But yeah, a lot of the houses don't have so many good items, but it's fun because most houses there'll be something that can be can be sold for a lot or donated.
So you sell real estate and you also do the flipping and the hoarder stuff. Like what's kind of your main part of your business?
The main part is restoring and rehabbing. I especially love working on older houses, preserving them. And then I'm somebody who does things very different from a lot of realtors. So I primarily keep cabinetry in kitchens and bathrooms. So I don't throw a lot of things away. And that kind of surprises a lot of people, including some of the lenders that I've used. Like, oh, wow, you really keep a lot of things and then just paint cabinets, things like that. So my goal is always to not have a lot and usually hardly anything to go in a dumpster, that we keep whatever we can. So I'm really into air quality and things like that. So a lot of times we do remove carpet, especially if it's older. And I never put carpet back in houses for a lot of reasons.
Okay.
LVP, waterproof kind of flooring, life-proof, those kinds of types are types of flooring that we tend to put in. So that's something that's different. A lot of rehabbers just tear every kitchen out, tear every bathroom out, and I pretty rarely do unless we really have to.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of neat. We do the same thing with our roofs because you can utilize existing insulation. Why throw it out if it's still got Kadar value? Why fill the landfill? So.
Absolutely. That's something that's really important to me. And I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I was doing this and filling a lot of dumpsters, but everybody has their different method. And so I appreciate that you guys do that as well.
Yeah. So walk me through, how you got into real estate and then how you kind of fell into this like niche of being like the hoarder real estate agent or flipper.
Absolutely. So growing up, I started working when I was 12 and 13 years old. So my mom was out of work most of the time when I was a teenager. I was really active in sports, but I just had to work so much, so I wasn't able to go to practices. So the soccer coach was like, just come to the games. And then the track coach was like, just come to the meets, since I had to kind of work. So I was paying pretty much all the bills by the time I was 13. When I was 15, I was working 2 jobs. And then by the time I was 16, I was making kind of 30 to 55,000 within a couple of years while I was a senior in high school. So I really wanted to buy my first house in Uptown. My sister and my best friend were like, let's live in Uptown. It's so cool. So I bought my first house at 20 years old, bought another house about 6 months later. So I bought my first 2 houses, and then it took quite a few years, like several years, until I bought a house for my sister to live in, and then started flipping houses in 2013 very slowly.
Okay. And Luke was on here before, and I asked him the same question. Are you more of a Robert Kiyosaki where you're debt to leverage, or do you like to pay things off and more Dave Ramsey style?
No, definitely Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
I use leveraging, using other people's money, doing as low of a down payment as I can, just like I did with those first 2 houses. I got my real estate license when I got my license in 2008. So I'd already bought 2 properties by then. And then I bought another property in 2009. The house that my sister lives in is my dad. It was $23,000 4-bedroom house back then. So 2009 is a time where a lot of us were like, if we would have known, we would have bought a lot more houses. But that was a really good value.
Yeah, I like it. You got to have some cool hoarding stories. What's some nightmares or some funny stories or neat things you found or gross things?
Yeah, there's it's sad sometimes. We've also specialized in houses that had a lot of cats. So one of the sad stories is that there was a house where I thought that the neighbors had said there were 35 cats that got taken out. The guy had diabetes. He couldn't really walk up and down the stairs. We ended up finding a dead cat under a lot of stuff. So there actually had been 36, which I thought was a lot. But then last year I bought a house and the people didn't move out. So then the seller who sold it to me just filed an eviction. When they finally left, we found a lot of cats in the house, but it was really sad. There were a dozen dead cats, including some kittens. It was over 100 cats total, and it was on the news. That was really sad. Just for somebody that really loves animals, that was just like, how could that happen? And it turned into a big police situation. The people were clearly like mentally ill, had let a lot of the cats from the neighborhood come in, and it was just for years. So that was one of the worst. But then there's a lot of the kind of fun stories, getting a trailer that was worth some money, a really cool Ford LTD old historic car or old classic car. Some of the things that people would leave behind. I have a 27-foot RV that I just got last week from a house that came with, like a really cool old vintage one. So some kind of fun things that people leave behind, and it's surprising sometimes, but it's always an adventure.
Yeah. So we've had about 25-ish guests on the podcast. You're the youngest entrepreneur starting that young. So what interested you starting work so young and being kind of on your own, and how'd you get into the entrepreneur side of things?
What I think is so good about my story was that it helped keep me out of trouble as a teenager. So I had to work to support my 2 younger sisters and my mom. So that really instigated a drive in me pretty young. But it also helped me get started pretty young at helping other people that were friends to live for really cheap with me. It was kind of just a dream, like us sisters, and both my sisters lived with me, and then some of our friends. There were actually 8 of us living in that first house together with only 1 shower. So 8 women, 1 shower. That was a pretty interesting time. So pretty quickly after that, I bought that next house, and then I lived with 3 guys who were gamers, doing video games with each other from the downstairs to the upstairs, and that was a very different experience than 8 women to 3 guys.
Sure.
But really fun. I just loved house hacking pretty young. I recommend that anybody do either house hacking or buy a duplex if they can for one of their first places. It's just a really great way to get started with very little down, and then also to have people helping with paying the monthly rent.
What's a house hacking?
House hacking is just living in a house and then having other people help with paying the mortgage.
Okay.
And then duplexes, it's like a lot of times it can cover almost the monthly rent to buy a duplex and then have the other side or the other unit rented out. Now I own a rooming house that has 16 total bedrooms. So it's a lot of people who have come out of homelessness. That's a cause that's really important to me. So I help a lot of people who formerly homeless and then kind of getting back on their feet. And then I've encouraged a lot of people, and some of my tenants have actually even worked for me. So just helping them to have something that's sustainable, housing, roof over their head, and then also a job is really important.
Okay, nice. Share a tidbit of information to the audience of getting started in entrepreneurship, or just any advice about being an entrepreneur.
I think it's really good to learn from a mentor. Some of my friends who either got into real estate and had a mentor or were in a coaching program, they leveled up so quickly. I just wanted to learn things on my own, do it my own way, not be on a team. And it just took me so many more years to grow. Once I started really networking with other investors, I just learned so much more quickly than I could have if I was just reading some books here and there, listening on YouTube. So getting around those kind of people that you can really grow and learn from, I think is really important. So I do a lot of networking events. I didn't really start until I started doing some speaking events in the last year. And then I started going to more and more events too. And that really helped just meet so many more people, get so many more deals for property sent to me as well, and just grow that network.
Okay, very cool. So the name of the podcast is called The Chills.
Yeah.
What in your business gives you the chills, makes you those feel-good moments?
For me as a realtor, helping people who also used to be formerly homeless, that's a really big thing for me. Like when I was going to school at the U of M, trying to get my mom's house out of foreclosure, just working so many jobs and being in school, I would sleep in my car, sleep on couches on campus. That was kind of a difficult time in my life. I had all my rooms rented out in both houses, and then I was working night shift at a group home. So then I could sleep there sometimes too. But it was really hard on me, and it was just a difficult time. So for any of the people who I've helped with buying a house, and they had been either in and out of homeless shelters or homeless as a teenager or as an adult, or just getting their kids into a place like their own first room, that was always really rewarding to me. I love helping people with that. A big step in their life, and how home is the nicest word there is a quote that I really like by Laura Ingalls Wilder. So helping people with that is the most rewarding, I would say.
Okay. So when people are watching the hoarder shows on TV or whatever, how does it portray different than real life, since you're kind of in it, or is it portrayed differently?
Yeah, I think there tends to be kind of a mental health component there. And so right now there's some people that are going viral for cleaning people's homes and things like that. And then it's like, sometimes the harsh reality is that sometimes, if not treating the root issue, that people just fall back into the same patterns. It's like things can be cleaned up. I know from relatives in my own family that it's kind of a long battle with that. So it's, it's fun. It's kind of like sensational sometimes, like, oh, look at these houses.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do live that way. It is sad, but so yeah, I think that I've seen some situations where people really either downsized or got into it. I've just seen a lot of people that have left a lot of things behind and they struggled a lot and then they go to therapy. I mean, there's been people who months later I was letting them still move stuff out even though the prior owner evicted them. A lot of times it's rooted in some past issues. So it's fun to see sometimes that with some therapy and some help that people have been able to change their lives around. But sometimes they just go from house to house, bringing a lot of different things. And people kind of joke, I may be a little bit of a hoarder myself and getting some of these items and then moving them, or we don't sell them right away. So it's like, I need to get warehouse space. So my next venture might be getting commercial space, putting some of my businesses in them, starting to sell items instead of having so many storage pods.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And is that where you're going to start your antique business?
I think so. And I've been working on starting a nonprofit. So we really want to be able to help people who are coming out of homelessness, have like really cute rooms set up for their kids. There's a nonprofit called My First Bed where kids get stuffed animals and their first bed, and just really nice message that I want to kind of do something like that, but having it be furniture for their entire new place, nice items that they get for free.
Okay. Bonus question for you. I heard you're a hurdler. You were a hurdler. I heard about you jumping over a baby gate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yep. So I was all conference hurdler. I jump over a lot of things in messy hoarder houses, like somebody on the podcast prior told you about, it sounds like. So yeah, definitely. I'm pretty fast and good at hurdling.
Pretty fast and agile. And you played soccer too?
Yeah, I did soccer too. But I'm also, my claim to fame is being in some books with Tony Hawk. It's like a trio of books. But when I was a teenager, I was paid to be in some books. And then my little cousin brought them to the show and tell at school, like, my cousin's famous, and they're published nationwide. I taught skateboard lessons and snowboard lessons. That was one of the really fun jobs I had when I had 4 or 5 jobs at a time in college. Okay. So skateboarding lessons in the summer, snowboard lessons in the winter. And then at the end of every skateboard lesson session, at the end of the week, we'd do our tricks. And so it was, like, I was the only female skateboard instructor every time, but pretty fun to inspire some girls and some kids, and then sometimes there'd be adults at the skate camps, but a really fun job.
Very cool. Where did you teach snowboarding at?
At Buck Hill in Burnsville.
Okay. That's a good hill.
Fun spot, yeah?
Yeah. I used to teach a mogul ski team at Spirit Mountain.
Oh, cool.
I grew up in Duluth and did moguls a little bit when I was younger, and then kind of moved into teaching. That's short period of time, but it's fun. Get little kids going and little hill rats and jumps and all that. So
and I think it's so good to have some kind of winter activity in Minnesota, especially when living here.
Yeah, exactly. How do people get in touch with you?
So people can call me, text me, contact me on LinkedIn. If anybody wants to invest or have us do cleaning for them, do maintenance work. We do maintenance work even for landlords. We fix appliances. We do snow removal, kind of a wide variety of things. Pretty much most things somebody would need with a house or duplex or apartment we can help with.
Okay. And anything else you want to add to the podcast, or anything you want people to know about you? Or
I think something else that gives me chills, I think, is my kids. And for a lot of people who have been single parents, I think people kind of think it's fun that my kids recognize houses that we pass by, like, we fixed that house up, because my kids would go and help with sorting if there's kids' items, like what are good items, and but they'd also be their days that we'd be pulling carpet and things like that. So I think for any parents that can kind of get some help from their kids, when my daughter was only 2 years old, she was opening my mail, because with 20-something properties at a time, I would have a lot of mail and open them, put them in the right piles, go put them in the recycling for the envelopes. And then my kids both just doing dishes, helping me with so many things. Especially when you're a busy entrepreneur, if you can get your kids to be helping with things even at 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, that's something that I kind of recommend to other entrepreneurs, especially if they're a single parent, to be able to manage everything. And then kids feel independent. They feel that sense of reward. They're learning good skills. They clean out my car with vacuuming the car. It's just like a lot of things that help with day-to-day besides just working on houses and having them take some pride in that. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. How old are your kids?
They're 7 and 6.
Very cool. Well, thanks for coming on. This was fun.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap, folks. A huge thank you to our incredible guests and, of course, Allweather Roof for making this podcast possible. If you enjoyed these conversations as much as we did, don't forget to hit subscribe and share the chills with your fellow business aficionados. Remember, it's not just about business, it's personal, and it's all about the people. Stay inspired, chase those dreams, and let the chills guide you. Till next time, this is Brent signing off from the Chills Podcast. Catch you on the flip side.